You're listening to Spainfully Honest, the podcast where me,
Paul, and me, Catherine, talk about what it's really like living in Spain.
each week we'll share stories, tips and honest conversations about daily life here, the good, the bad and everything in between.
Whether you're living in Spain or you're thinking about moving, or you just want to know a little bit more, you're in the right place.
So grab a coffee, get comfy and let's get Spainfully Honest.
Good morning and welcome to episode 14 of Spainfully Honest. And today we have a very special episode.
Yes, we have Belén from Just Law Solicitors down in Fuengirola, but covering the whole country, which is really important for the podcast.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you so much for coming. Welcome, Belén.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Catherine. Thank you for inviting me.
No problem.
Yeah, we're going to talk today about buying property in Spain. Very important subject. We get asked a lot of questions about it. And I'm sure you do as well.
I am, every day.
Brilliant. But we're not going to go into too many specifics. We got lots of the questions. So we put together some questions that covered the major topics. So we're going to go through those today. And as we have quite a lot of topics to cover, we're going to go straight into it, if that's okay with you.
Of course.
Yeah. Okay.
So here we go. I'm going to start with the first question. And the first one is it safe to buy a property in Spain?
So yes, it is safe to buy a property in Spain, but of course you have to do all the legal checks. It will change a lot depending on the property that you are buying. So for example, if you're buying a rustic property, it is important that you check if the property is legalized, if it is not, the boundaries of the property. If it is a urban property, you still have to make checks regarding the depth for the community of owners, if the property has a first occupation license or not. In any case, it is safe to buy a property in Spain, but the most valuable tip that we can give you at Just Law Solicitors is never sign, never pay anything until a lawyer has made a credit diligence. That's the basic tip for all properties in Spain.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah. I think, in fact, all the guests we've had on who sell properties in Spain have said the same thing. First thing you do, get a really good lawyer. Like the first thing.
Yes, the thing is that in most of the cases, you will see the property, you will find the property that you like, you make the offer has been accepted. But who has proven to you that the seller is the owner in the documents? That's quite important. When people ask us, do I sign and pay the deposit straight away? Well, no. Let's first see the charges of the property, who the owner is, if the property has a first occupation license or not, because this will change the whole process.
Yeah.
And the thing is as well, what you have to remember, think in your head, is that you're buying something off somebody, and they're only going to tell you the good things automatically. If there's problems, they're not going to mention the money. So, the estate agent is selling the property, the seller is selling the property. They want to sell it.
Yeah.
So you have to just be careful.
That's a very good thing to say. So the agent is indeed selling the property. The job of the agent is selling the property. So in the end, the one who will make the checks for you about the charges and the bad things, as you say, it is the lawyer.
Okay, so question number 2. Can I buy a property in Spain if I am not a resident in Spain? This question comes up a lot on Facebook. So this is a really big one.
I can tell you that maybe I'm asked this question every day. Yes, everyone can buy a property in Spain. It doesn't matter if you're a resident or if you are a non-resident. Now, if you are a resident or if you are a non-resident, there will be small differences. For example, if you buy the property as a resident, if it is your main residency and you are registering the property at the town hall, you will not pay any taxes on that. If you're buying as a non-resident, you will pay a very small tax called non-residence tax. Might be non-residence tax are approximately 500 euros per year. So it changes, but everyone can buy a property.
So another question that comes up quite a lot is that people don't know whether they've got to come over or they can do it from home or whatever. So can I buy a property in Spain remotely so I don't have to keep traveling backwards and forwards all the time?
The whole process of buying a property in Spain can be done remotely. You don't need to be in Spain at any stage of the purchase process. It doesn't matter in which part of Spain you're buying, you don't need to be here. Now, my advice, and this is something personal based in my experience. If you're buying a property remotely and the developer, or if it is a new construction, or the seller, if it is a second-hand property, sends you the link to visit the property remotely, my advice is to send your agent or someone that you trust yourselves to see the property and see that the property is exactly what you want. Because Again, the seller will only show you the good things, as
Yeah.
you said before. So if you see the property through a link of the developer, you're seeing the property on the developer or the seller's eyes. It is better to see it yourself or through someone that you trust. But yes, the whole process can be done remotely. In this kind of cases, it is quite important to have a power of attorney.
Yeah.
I think it's, it's a major investment, it's a major use of your money. It's really important. I mean, it's different, perhaps different. If you're buying to use it as an Airbnb, it's probably slightly different. But if you're buying it for your own personal house, even if I went to look at a house for my best friend, I still wouldn't know exactly what they
Yeah.
need. So, I mean,
Yeah.
seeing the property at least and making sure.
And it's emotional as well, isn't it? It's not just a thing. It's going to be a home somewhere where you create memories. So yeah, it's important.
What most of our clients are doing at the moment is they come for a week, 2 weeks, depending on how lucky you are. In 2 days, you can find the property that you love. So once you have found the property, they leave. They leave and they make the offer from their country. It is quite important for people to know that in Spain, we don't have a rule that sets up how the reservation process has to be. So the agent or the seller are the ones guiding you through that. For example, some agents will accept just a WhatsApp message saying you put an offer. Some other agents will ask you to sign a contract and pay a deposit just to make an offer. Quite important, again, not to sign or pay anything. Because again, even if it is just to make an offer, if you have to pay, we have to make that due diligence. That's 100% needed. So it depends. You can do the whole process remotely, but if you want to visit, if you want to make this first visit here in Spain, you can have that leave, and we will do the rest of the process for you.
With yourselves, would it be possible for somebody who was thinking to come over to speak to you before they even came, just to say, to find out what they need to do when you get here, if they see a property, etc.?
Well, in fact, not for people hearing this podcast, because they will hear plenty of information. But my advice is always to have a call with us before you come here, because before you come, I will give you some tips. For example, if someone asks you to sign a deposit, they might tell you, no, this is just to make an offer. Well, don't do it. I will give you some tips even before you put the offer. So my advice is always to have a call first about the legal side of the purchase.
Yeah, that's great.
Good idea. Good idea.
And you're speaking to somebody independently, not related to the property, because the one selling the property again will say, oh, don't worry about it, everything's okay. All this time.
Exactly. At Just Law Solicitors, we offer free consultations for people buying a property in Spain. So in the first consultation, of course, many of our clients, they don't have the property yet. So I only give general information, but general information that will for sure apply for your property process.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Okay, so next, isn't it? Yeah. So is there any advantage in buying as a resident versus as a non-resident?
Not really. Many people think that you will pay a lot of taxes if you're buying as a non-resident, which is not the case. We have mentioned just 1 minute ago that if you're buying as a resident and you get registered in your property, you will not pay any taxes because it is your main residency. If you're buying as a non-resident, the taxes that you will pay will depend on if you rent out the property or not. If you don't rent it out, the taxes that you will pay will be very small. So not really an advantage, no.
That's good.
In any case, either if you buy as a resident or as a non-resident, you have to bear in mind that you will pay IBI, to the town hall, property tax. It is a small tax, depending on the value of the property. It can be 600, 800 euros per year. Mm-hmm. And you pay this, the same amount. It doesn't matter if you are a resident or a non-resident.
Yeah. Mine is, this property is about 100 meters squared, and we pay about €400 a year.
Yeah. 280, remember, that's just because it's an apartment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's like we say rates in the UK. So
Is it?
very rateable.
I have no idea what it is.
It's not water rates, but rateable, the property rateable value. So it's the same thing as that. Very cheap compared to the UK.
Is it? Well, what would you pay in the UK?
Depends where you are, obviously, but I mean, thousands, not just.
Wow, really?
Yeah, so it's really different.
Yeah. There you go. Excellent.
This is a little bit more specific question, and to people who are in the process, they'll probably know about this, but they may not, so I might need to explain a little bit more, is Do I need an NIE number to buy a house? So I suppose we should explain as well a little bit what an NIE number is.
Absolutely. In fact, when they ask me, do I need an NIE number? For me, it's like, first of all, do you know what an NIE number is? So I can explain. So NIE number is the identification number of a foreigner. This number will only allow you to pay taxes in Spain and to get the property registered into your name. Quite important, the NIE number is not residency. The NIE number will not allow you to live in Spain in a permanent basis. So it is just a number for you to be able to pay the taxes related to the property and to register the property into your name. 100% needed, not just to sign a purchase deed, but also if you want to sign any deed in Spain. If you're applying for a mortgage, you will need the NIE number. If you're signing an inheritance deed, you will need the NIE number. Any deed that you need to sign at a public notary here in Spain, you will need the NIE number.
Does that number stay with you sort of forever then?
Forever, yes.
So I'm just thinking some people may have had a property or rented, I don't know, done something before Brexit, if they're English people, and then now decided they want to come here 15 years later. Would that NIE number, if they had it before, still be the same number?
Yes, indeed. So in this kind of cases, some clients, they think that they have a NIE number, but they are not even sure. What they do is to grant us with a power of attorney. When we attend the police station appointment to obtain the NIE number, the police station will not issue a new NIE number. They will just issue a duplicate. So it will be the same. Another important thing that I ask a lot is, once you have an NIE number, what happens if I apply for residency? Well, your residency card will have your NIE number. It will be matched by the Spanish authorities.
Sorry, I don't know if this is here, but what's the difference between a TIE and an NIE number? Is there any difference?
Yeah, of course, everything. So the NIE number is the number that will allow you just to pay the taxes and to register the property into your name. While the TIA is the residency card that you obtain once the residency has been approved. So let's say I want to buy a property. I might want to live in Spain in the future, but I'm not sure. We obtain your NIE numbers, we assist you with the purchase, and in 2-3 years, whatever, you decide that you want to move to Spain. You apply for residency, you apply, for example, for a non-resident visa from your country, from the consulate. The consulate approves the visa. You come to Spain, and once you get your registration at the town hall, you will be able to receive your TIA, which is going to be your residency card and will have the same NIE number as the one that we obtained for you when you purchase the property.
Perfect. Cool. Thank you very much.
So that's good.
Okay. So do I need to open a Spanish bank account? I guess that's if you're buying a property in Spain, right? So if you're buying a property in Spain, do I need to open a Spanish bank account?
It is always advisable to have a Spanish bank account if you have a property in Spain, because it will be the way for the Spanish authorities to charge you for the utilities, so water, electricity, but also IBI, so the town hall, the property tax, garbage. So it is quite advisable to open a Spanish account if you're buying a property in Spain. If you're applying for a mortgage, you have to bear in mind you will not need to open a bank account because your bank will open a bank account for you to get the payments of the mortgage. So in that case, you can use the same account for everything.
Brilliant. Excellent.
Obviously, you won't know where you're going to live initially. So what would you do to choose a bank? You know, was there any special things you would suggest?
Well, nowadays, unfortunately, everything is done online. So you can do everything with your bank. You can do it through the APP. At the moment, in our law firm, we recommend Cash, which is the bank that we work with. And they have a very good manager that can help our clients with everything. So this is the bank that we normally recommend. But you can choose whatever bank you prefer. This is also important for people moving maybe to very small villages in Spain. If you only have one bank, in that case, we would recommend you to choose that bank instead. But if you're moving to a place that has several banks, our suggestion is Special Bank, that you can choose whatever.
And there's a lot of banks that will be in all of Spain. And then there are some that are regional as well, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Right. A lot of it I find is that the bank, or the branch in particular, is as good as the manager. If you've got a branch with a really good manager, it can be a great bank. But then you go down the road, the manager's not as happy.
Yeah.
And the same bank, although they use the same criteria, it doesn't feel as friendly.
Yeah.
So you need to get a bit of a relationship, I think. Go in, if you are thinking of couch, go into a couch nearby and have a speak to the people.
Absolutely. It is quite important for people to know. In Spain, you will not find this is a very good bank in all the branches. No, your branch, you go there, you have a good relationship maybe with one of the staff.
Yeah.
That is your branch. This is why, in my case, I recommend the branch that I use. I know that the manager helps our clients all around Spain. It doesn't matter where they are. But it is important if, for example, you're moving to a village that only has Santander, to choose Santander instead, of course.
Yeah.
That's good advice.
Which all happened to me. I had a great bank manager in my branch, and we knew each other over years, and he moved branches. So sad. I was so upset.
If he didn't move close, I would have followed.
Yeah, like we're moving house.
Yeah, because it's sometimes hard to find someone.
How you get that relationship with people, you don't want to break people.
Oh my God, I was so upset.
I do think there's still, perhaps more than the UK, there is still quite a bit of power with the manager in their branch. They can get things quicker, do things, faster, help you a bit more. It's not all regimented, so it does make a difference.
Yeah,
It makes a very big difference. And for us, that we have to deal, you have to deal with your account, but we have to deal with the accounts of many, many clients. For us, it makes things much more easier, to be honest.
So related to that, this is a question, again, loads of people ask this. Can I get a mortgage in Spain, even though I'm a foreign person?
Yes, anyone can get a property and anyone can get a mortgage in Spain. The difference is, if you are a non-resident, you might only be approved a 60 or a 70%. If you are a resident, it might be an 80, but everyone can get a mortgage in Spain. Yes.
That's good. That's good to know. Yeah.
Of course, it will depend on the client's conditions.
Yes,
So,
it's not different. You can't do that. So,
but it will depend. It doesn't matter if you're a resident or a non-resident.
Does it make a difference at all if they are European citizens or British expats or American expats? Does that make a difference in the bank?
Not really. If you are a non-resident, depending on your conditions, and when I say a resident, I mean a tax resident and a legal resident here in Spain. If you are a non-resident and you go, they will not normally approve more than 70%.
Yeah.
Depending
So if you are new to the process, so you haven't bought the house yet, how would you do the residency before you did the bank account and the mortgage?
You can do everything at the same time. What our clients normally do is, once they have found the property that they intend to buy, some people do not even know yet if they want to apply for residency or not. Some of them, they have to check the tax implications or the legal implications of being a resident in Spain. So you can start the process of applying for the mortgage. You can send the bank, even though you don't have the property yet, you can send the bank all of your documents, your financial information. And the bank will make a pre-study of your situation. And they will give you a pre-approval, which is what we always recommend clients to do before you put a reservation deposit on a property.
Yeah. But that is another reason for having a lawyer, isn't it? Because if you're assisting with that when you're speaking to the bank, they're going to know that person's serious. Whereas if I just go walking in and say, I'm thinking of buying a house and I want a mortgage, you're going to be, is this person serious? So it's wasting time.
Yeah. It's also really helpful to hear this. I think sometimes when people are thinking about moving to Spain and they're thinking about all the different things they have to do, it's so nice to hear it this way of do this, then you do this, then you do it. It's like just to put it in some kind of order for them so they know what order to do things in. It makes things less stressful, isn't it?
There are so many things, particularly on Facebook, where people put on a group, an expat group, and somebody has managed to do something by accident, but it's worked. And then that becomes this is how you should do it. No, they were lucky. They were lucky that the house didn't fall down or that, the motorway didn't go through it the next day. That was luck, but that doesn't make it a rule, does it?
Absolutely. Yeah, it happens also the same, not just with buying a property, but also with residency. Because people will tell you, you can move to Spain and apply from there. Well, it will depend on the residency that you want to apply. And before you move, you should make sure that you will be able to get all the documents that the Spanish authorities will request. So, as you said, I 100% agree. Just because you got it doesn't mean that it is a general rule that everyone can apply.
It's so scary.
Yeah.
You should see the case specifically, speak with the client. Do you want to move? When? It is quite important. Some people tell us, maybe I want to move in 2028. Should I talk with you now? Well, maybe wait a little bit because the law can change.
Yeah.
The whole of the law can change. But yeah, it is important to have a plan. When do you want to buy the property? If you need the property to register at the town hall when the residency has been approved. This way, with our immigration department, the property and the immigration department work together and match all of the process so everything goes smoothly, as smooth as possible at least.
It's important.
It is important.
And it's just, like I said, there's so many things come up, you know. I was liken it to insurance. People say, oh, I bought a house and I didn't use a lawyer and it was okay. Yeah, but, you know, why do you have house insurance? You have house insurance and you pay it every year and nothing happens. But you're paying for it for the thing that might happen or, you know, the thing that they will spot that you wouldn't spot. So important.
Yeah.
We also find many clients telling us, I decided to buy my property through the lawyer of the real estate.
Yeah.
This is something, again, we said before, the agent wants to sell. The lawyer of the agency works for the agency. My advice is to hire an independent lawyer, not the lawyer of the real estate, because in the end, the lawyer of the real estate has a conflict of interest.
Yeah.
He will go for the sale to go through.
Yeah. You wouldn't do that about anything else, so why would you do it buying a property? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so our next question, do I need a survey before buying a property?
In Spain, we don't always have clients getting a survey before buying the property. Maybe if you're buying that urban property that belongs to a community of owners, a small property, the survey might be an expense that you can save. But if you're buying a rustic property, a property in the countryside, in most of the cases, I have to say the information at the land registry and at the town hall will not match in this kind of properties. The boundaries are normally not very clear because we have the information of the town hall, the cadastro is very old. Yeah. So in most of the cases, the information will be blank. So my advice, if you're buying a property in the countryside, is always to have a survey before buying. If you're buying a urban property that is quite small, maybe it might not be needed. If you're buying a urban property, it will depend on the property itself. But for a rustic, 100% advisable.
I've recently sold 2 rustic properties, and one of the things you notice is that the boundaries are determined by the neighbours. So it says Mr. Moreno lives next to Mr. Jones or whatever lives north. Well, that could have changed in 20 years. It's different people, and those references don't relate anymore. So somebody's got to reassess that and get all the new names.
This is something that land registries do not do anymore. So the thing is that many old properties, by the time that they got registered in the land registry stated the names of the neighbors, and you cannot delete that. Now, the thing is, what happens if the neighbors have sold it? I will not know. That is quite a disaster.
Yeah. I had another problem with the swimming pool as well, because when I bought the house, there was a pool on it. Well, it was classed as a water deposit when I bought the house. And all I did was effectively tile it. It wasn't tiled. They classed it as a swimming pool, I classed it as a swimming pool. But when I came to sell the house, the land registry didn't have a record of it being a swimming pool. It was a water deposit. And I had to, even the line had to update all the deeds, I had to pay the tax on it and everything. So, you know, even little things like that, if you've had a property for several years and you're buying that property, it could be that certain things aren't quite right. And you're not going to know that yourself. I wouldn't know. I saw pictures from 10 years before I bought it with the water deposit. So it was always there. It just wasn't classed as a swimming pool. So things like that. But you don't know that yourself. I'm a lawyer, that's what you need a lawyer for.
Things that you need to update, not because you're having a legal problem not to updating them, but it is better to have the property as good as possible from the legal perspective. So if you're going to sell, you can just sell it. You don't have to update it if you have recently bought it.
And also, I suppose there is an element of, if you do have a property and you're making changes, is to use yourselves as well to say, I want to extend it. What is the process of making it bigger? I want to put a swimming pool in. What is the process of putting a swimming pool in?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you know that it's right at the end, don't you? But it's an expense you don't think about. So at the other end of the extreme with buying, if you're buying something that's brand new and might not even be there yet, What happens if the property doesn't have the first occupation license?
The first occupation license is a document from the town hall that proves that the property is suitable for you to live on it. Now, the first occupation license, depending on the area in Spain which you're buying, will be called in different ways. Yeah, it's all the same. So this license is needed if you intend to get a tourist license, 100% needed. Or if intend to make the change in the holder of the water supply, it is also sometimes needed. The thing is, what happens if you're buying a property that doesn't have the first occupation license? You don't want to rent the property on holidays, so you don't need the tourist license. So that's okay. And the water company has confirmed that you can proceed with the change without it. Quite good. Now, the only thing that I recommend our clients to worry about is what happens if you want to sell and your buyer requests you this. It is an expense that you have to take into account, that you're buying a property for a certain amount. And when you sell, you might have this expense. Depends a lot on the property and on the town hall. We might be speaking about a cost of 2,000 or maybe 20,000. Depends a lot. So it is something that I always advise to at least know more or less how much it will cost. Now, if you agree, if the buyer agrees, you can proceed. You can buy a property without first occupation license. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a big thing about it. I remember, I think it was around 2007, 2008, where I don't know if it was just this area or everywhere, where there were the town halls were being far more, they were putting more importance on it because there were developers building blocks of apartments, but not finishing the streets and the pavements and things. And so, but they were giving the habitation license before that, and the builders just never finished the streets. And I think in that time they said, right, the streets and the pavements are part of the urbanisation. We won't do the certificate until everything's been finished.
Happened the same in a village very close to Fuengirola, that the developer got the first occupation license, but they didn't finish all of the streets surrounding the urbanization. In that case, the town hall revoked the license. Indeed. Yeah. Nowadays, the town hall will not grant the first occupation license until they have checked that everything is done. This is for a new development. In a new development, nowadays, fortunately, developers are fulfilling the law and they provide the first occupation license, which is great. Now, the problem is what happens for a second-hand purchase. In that case, well, for example, in Alicante, which is very close to us, some water companies will not make the change of the supply if you don't have the first occupation license.
Oh, that's interesting.
So it's something that we have to check before you pay anything, before you sign anything, because it might change a lot the offer that you make on the property and the due diligence that we make as lawyers.
Yeah. So I guess you recommend to get that sorted at the start if you had to make a recommendation.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'd have thought about that. So it can apply to you buying a second home. Then it's not just a brand new one. So
yeah. Exactly. Yeah. My advice is, if you are going to make a visit on a property, you are going to see the property through the agent or through the seller, just ask, does the property have a first occupation license? Licencia de primera ocupación in Spanish. You can ask. The other party will send it to you if the property has it. If not, we can review it from there.
Yeah, that's great.
It's mine next, is it? Where are we? Can I get a permanent residency by buying a property in Spain?
Very good question. No. Even though you buy a property in Spain, it will not allow you to live in Spain on a permanent basis. We had the golden visa, which was for people buying for more than 500,000 euros, but this visa no longer exists. It is important for people to know because many people still ask for this visa. So no, buying a property in Spain will not grant you with residency. You can buy a property in Spain as a non-resident, of course, and you can apply. We can help you with your residency at any stage. But no, just for buying a property, you will not have residency.
As a big question, I see that a lot.
Yes.
A lot.
So if your idea is that you want to live here permanently, you need to investigate in residency at the same time, if not before you even buy the house.
Yeah, exactly. So simple questions. If you want to live in Spain, do you have a EU passport? Then that's perfect. Your husband, your wife has an EU passport. Perfect. Do you want to work or you don't? If you don't, then you look at a visa. Or if you are a remote worker, maybe the digital nomad visa. Do you want to start your own business? Maybe the self-employed visa. There are plenty of visas. It just depends on what the client wants.
Perfect.
So what is the process to complete the purchase? If you see a house, you really like it. So what you said before is don't put any money down, don't sign anything, but I love that house. It's exactly what I want. I like where it is. What do you do? What is the process?
So first step is for me to check that the seller is the owner, that the property doesn't have any charges, if the property has a first occupation license, or if the seller wants to oblige himself to provide it before completion. So the first step, once we have made all this, is to sign the reservation contract. In the reservation contract, you pay us a deposit, maybe 5,000-6,000, depends on the property price. And with that reservation contract signed, the property is taken off the market.
That's so important because you do see where somebody said, "Oh, I'm going home on Monday. I'll send you the deposit," and they presume the property is theirs at that point. And they get home, and in the meantime, the agent, somebody else has come in who doesn't need a mortgage. You already have residency, and it's their house, so you haven't got that property or reserved that property until you've done all that, have you?
And this is why the reservation process is so important to do it fast, to do it very fast. Because there are very important checks that we have to do. For example, if the seller is the owner, which is very, very important, you as lawyer, you have to be very fast because otherwise the client might lose the property. Yeah. So once the property is taken off the market, everyone is called that the property is reserved into your name. Second step is for us to prepare the draft purchase contract. It is called in Spanish, contrato de arras. In this contract, buyers normally pay 10% of the purchase price minus the reservation deposit. This purchase contract, in this contract, we include all of the documents that the seller needs to provide before completion. First occupation license, again, urban infraction certificate, certificate from the community of owners showing they don't have debt, certificate from the town hall showing they don't have debt, all of the documents. Once we have all these, we are ready to go to completion. In Spain, we complete the purchases at the notary. At the notary, you pay the rest of the price, the 90%, because the 10% has been already paid, and you get the keys. That same day, you are the owner. You have to bear in mind that this process that I have just explained in 1 minute might take around maybe 1.5 months, more or less. In this time, we have the chance to get the power of attorney from the client, which can be done from their countries. We have the time to get their NIE numbers, open the Spanish bank accounts. Once we have all this, we complete the purchase. And last step is for the property to be registered into the buyer's name in the land registry, which might take around 2 months, more or less. But still, you are the owner since completion, you have the keys, you have your house.
Perfect. And if the person who is buying the property is there in the notary, do they need to bring, or is it recommended to bring a translator with them when they're there?
We all speak English and we attend the notary appointments, so no need. Some notaries in Spain, a very little percentage of notaries in Spain speak English. So yes, if you go by yourself, highly advisable to bring a translator with you, because otherwise the notary will not sign the deed if you don't speak
Spanish. You don't understand what you're signing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
For our clients, as we always attend the notary appointment, it doesn't matter where our clients are buying in Spain, we always attend the notary appointment with them. We act as translators.
Perfect.
If you had a situation where it was an expat is, say, German, and doesn't speak English, would it be an idea for them to bring a German translator then, just because it's a language that's not spoken?
Yes, it would be advisable, yeah. But not to, you can find, it is not necessary to be a sworn translator or anything. It can be just someone that speaks the language and Spanish.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be specifically a sworn translator.
Yeah, I've come with a lot of people. Catherine, can you come with us too? Yeah. I'm like, sure, what are we doing?
It's important to understand what you do, is it?
Yeah, you have to be comfortable with that before you put your signature on that document.
Yes.
I know what I'm signing. Oh, this is a big one. This is probably what most people talk about. What taxes do I have to pay when buying a property in Spain?
Very big question.
Yeah.
So it depends on if you're buying a new construction or a second-hand property. Let's go first for the new construction. New constructions in Spain pay VAT, which is 10% in the whole of Spain, and a call tax, we call it stamp duty, but it is not an exact translation. It is called in Spanish Impuesto de Actos Jurídicos Documentados. In Murcia, it's a 1.2%. of the purchase price. In Andalusia, for example, it is Murcia, it's a 1.5. In Andalusia, it is a 1.2. Depending on the comunidad, on the area of Spain in which you're buying, it might change slightly. If you're buying a second-hand property, you only pay transmission tax. Transmission tax, for example, in Murcia, it is 8%. In Andalusia, it is 7%. Madrid, it is 6%. Depending on the area, again, it will change.
What would sort of the maximum and minimum be? Is it mostly quite high?
So let's say the minimum is 6 to 14, more or less.
Oh, Jesus.
But depending on your circumstances, it might be less than 6. So, for example, in Andalusia, if you're buying a property for less than 150,000 euros, you're less than 35 years old, and this is your primary residency, you might only pay at 3.5.
Okay.
Depends on your circumstances as well.
Yeah.
But in general, yeah, let's say 6 or 13, 14.
So again, that's something that you can check for somebody before they buy. Because I mean, the difference between 3.5 and 14% is quite a lot of different money that you're going to need.
We check this. In fact, normally our way of proceeding is when we have the first call with our clients buying a property in Spain or selling a property in Spain. After that, we send them an email with a list of expenses. So if you're buying in Murcia, for example, we will include the 8% transmission tax. And there is an expense that you have to take into account. It doesn't matter if you're buying a new construction or a second hand, which are notary and administrative fees. You have to pay as buyers, you have to pay this. It doesn't matter the kind of property that you're buying. So notary and land registry will depend on the property price and the number of pages of the deeds, because notaries, they charge per page that they sign.
Yeah.
So it might be 1,200 euros each one, more or less. Very more or less, because it will invest.
I mean, that's why we can't do specific companies,
Yeah.
specific people. It's, depending on the property location. So many people like,
The region of Spain, it can vary so much, can't it?
So related to that then, what would you say, or how you describe it as a percentage or something, what would you say is the average cost of buying a property, obviously on top of the property price that people should be thinking about when they're buying a property?
If you're buying a second-hand property, which is the most common case, maybe an 11% or 12% would be accurate, because you have to take the 8% of the tax, plus more or less at 2 for notary, land registry. I'm just saying it higher for people to have an idea.
It's better to have a pleasant surprise at the
Yeah,
end than most and not have enough money.
I always prefer my clients to have a remaining amount than to have an amount that they have to pay.
Yeah.
So, 10, 11, 12, more or less.
Yeah, it's important.
Yeah.
Especially because when majority of people, they always like something better than they can really afford. So, the house is also more expensive than you initially thought. Your costs are going to be more expensive.
Exactly. Yes.
Bear that in mind.
Yeah.
That's no different to buying in the UK, but it's just, have that in mind.
Yeah.
It's not just the cost of the house. There is the cost.
Yeah. And then also, not related to law or anything, but the moving costs, which I think people always forget about. And you do have moving costs that you have to make sure you budget for as well, because it's important.
The important thing to remember is that, okay, it is a cost, but it's going to save you money if something goes wrong. Because, it's less likely to go wrong because you spend that money. So everything's been checked properly and everything. And if you don't do it correctly, you might save yourself a couple of grand, but it's going to cost you a lot more than a couple of grand if it goes wrong.
Absolutely, that is the thing. For example, in Spain, the law of the property tax, the IBI, the law states that if you buy a property with debts, even though the debts are from your seller or from the previous seller, the debts go with the house.
Yeah.
So you will be responsible for this. What happens if you don't check it? You will have to pay in the future for sure. So if you don't pay for someone to make these checks for you, you might have to pay for the expenses that come with the house.
Yeah.
Because otherwise the town hall or whatever authority will seize the house.
So that would be if someone hasn't paid their community fee, then that would then be yours. Or if they
Yes.
hadn't paid, would it be like electricity bills and water bills? Would that be also?
Now, the law doesn't say anything about this. So the law is very clear about IBI and about community fees. The law doesn't say anything about electricity, water. What the companies will do is always try to get you to pay. I had a very bad experience with a client. He basically came to me saying, I have recently bought a house in Spain, and now electricity company is trying to charge me 5,000 euros as previous debt. Well, we didn't assist him on the purchase. I spoke with the electricity company, and I told them, you know that you cannot charge my client as the new buyer for this. They tried to argue that the law of the IDI tax and the community said that. And it was like, yeah, but we don't have a law for your invoices. In the end, we had to file a complaint in the consumer office. And the consumer office gave us the reasons, so the client didn't have to pay anything. But it was quite stressful because 5,000 euros is quite a lot when you have just both a property. So yeah, it's important to check.
I've heard that happening with other people, which is why I thought I would just add it in there.
Yeah. But it's important to the lawyer.
Yeah.
It's just all reiterates that.
Yeah, really just. Is it me or?
You.
Okay. Okay, so this is one that's in the news a lot at the moment. So can I rent out the property to tourists?
At the moment, the law changed in April this year. We had a big change in our law. You can obtain a tourist license with the current law, but you have to fulfill certain requirements that were not necessary before April this year. So you have to have a first occupation license. This always comes with a tourist license. But now, if you intend to get a tourist license and your property belongs to a community of owners, condos, as the Americans say, if your property belongs to this kind of community, you have to get a specific authorization from your community of owners. And the thing is that you can only get this authorization in the community meeting. In Spain, communities gather normally once a year in summer, normally. They can gather as many times as they want, but you have to have a minimum. So many people, many communities, they just gather once a year. So the thing is to check when the meeting of the community will be, so you can be prepared and ask for the authorization. Once you have the authorization, you can get your tourist license, and you have to register it in the land registry, which is also something new that we didn't have to do prior to the law. But yeah, you can obtain a tourist license. The only thing is that now the due diligence made on the tourist license is bigger. That's the only difference.
And again, that can be done, you Just Law can do that for you.
Yeah, at Just Law Solicitors, we do the whole process. So once the client has bought the property, we submit the first occupation license and the purchase deed in the Spanish authorities. And also the authorization from the community of owners, they grant us with a tourist license. And once we have the tourist license, we go to the land registry again with the purchase deed and the authorization from the community and register that in the land registry. The land registry will then issue a VR number that clients now need if they want to announce their properties in platforms like Booking, Airbnb.
Yeah.
So if you're not in the community, so are you in a community here?
No.
So that part is not required
No.
for
No.
something like that.
If it is an independent property, then you just need the first occupation license, the purchase deed, basically exactly what you needed prior to the change of the law. But you would also need to register it in the land registry. This applies to all the properties.
Yes.
I've got two apartments, one that I live in and one that my mother lives in. And in one block, we don't have the meetings at that. Exactly what you said. We had the meeting at the beginning of August in both places. One group said yes and one group said no.
Well, that's an important point. I didn't know that you could only do the vote when they had the meeting. So you have to make sure that you time it quite well, right?
Yes, you have to match timing a lot. With our clients now, it's been like, okay, if we sign in June, then maybe the property is registered into the buyer's name by July. So the meeting is in August. We have to match the times. And what did your community family decide?
One each. So one said no, that they weren't allowing short-term lets, and one said yes, they would allow short-term. So it wasn't all the community that were there, because it was only, I think it was say 50 people that there should be, and there were about 25 there, but it was 60% of the 25 that were there, unless they'd done it by proxy
Yeah.
and sent it in. So it was virtually done on the day.
The thing is, some land registries, before the change in the law, would require to have a written document from the community saying we accept this. It was a very small percentage of land registries, but they do it. But it was enough if you ask the administrator of the community to provide a document saying, yes, we accept tourist rentals here. Now you have to have the minutes of the meeting.
And in both sets of minutes, it said it, and it said who. It didn't say who voted. It just said how many, what percentage who voted. It wasn't specific.
You go back around knocking on the door. You said.
And does that then apply? So this is very new, isn't it? It's new. You know, that's why it's on social media so much. Is that every year that's renewed then? So they will have the same. Oh, okay.
No.
So once it is accepted or not accepted, how could it be changed? Or can it be changed?
So, for example, I am the owner of apartment 1A. I want the community to authorize me in my apartment 1A to have a tourist license. If the community of owners says no, I can go to the meeting again next year and ask. If they say yes, I can get it. Once they have authorized me, I will obtain the tourist license, and the tourist license, in principle, again, unless we have a change in the law, is valid forever.
So it's two. The license is valid for that. So is it twofold there? Because when I was talking a second ago, I was talking about the community saying that the block could have rental. So then, do they then have to do it to an individual level of a farm?
The law doesn't say anything. My advice would be to be as accurate as possible, the most accurate that you can be. So my advice is go for the authorization of your specific property, because what the law says in Spanish is that you need to have an expresa, we say in Spanish, authorization. Expresa means specifically for you. So when we say for you, does it mean the block or does it mean your property? In case of doubt, I prefer to submit the authorization of your property and go property to property. But this is something so new that we don't have confirmation of what this will say.
The uncertainty that creates the issue. You know, I mean, in principle, the idea of what they're doing is a very good idea. Controlling rental, I think, is fantastic. But the issue is the uncertainty of it.
Yeah.
And again, so many people saying, oh, it was all right in my block, so it must be okay.
I will be able to reply to that question to you maybe in October, because the other day I had a discussion with the lawyer of a community who told me, I know the neighbors because it's a very small community, and they will all vote yes to tourist licenses. And I said, okay, as they are so just a few neighbors, would it be possible to state each one of the apartments to have the authorization? And he said, no, because the minute is already prepared. Okay. The thing is, now I will have to submit this minute in the land registry saying that all the block approves tourist licenses. I don't know if maybe the land registry will tell me, no, I need a minute saying each one of the apartments gets the authorization. I don't know. I will tell you in October when I have heard from the land registry.
Yeah, it's unfolding as we speak.
Yeah, well, it's important, you know,
Yeah,
especially
it's
that, you know, if the rental of it is, you need that rental a certain amount to pay for it, you know, in the future, you know, you want the costs covered. So important. Oh.
And this is why, again, as we're mentioning all these, we're going a little bit deeper into the matter. But again, what happens if you want to buy a property to rent it out on holidays? You pay a deposit and then you realize that the property doesn't have a first occupation license, or that the community is absolutely against tourist rentals. What happens with your deposit? This is why it is so important to speak with a lawyer before putting a deposit.
Definitely.
So, especially at the moment with that issue, like you say, within perhaps 6 months, it will be a lot more clear.
Yeah.
And then, you know, but particularly at the moment.
Well, that is if we don't have a change in the law again in 6 months, which can happen.
Yeah.
It can happen.
Yeah, because it needs time to bed in, doesn't it? People, you need to kind of get used to the law, see it working, and then you kind of realize, oh, might tweak it here, tweak it there. Yeah.
I'm sure this law will have changes. I'm not a politician, but I'm sure the law will have changes.
It does seem very, very strict. It may become less strict, but who knows? General then. So say you bought your property. What are you looking at ongoing? So we talked about the EV, but other taxes that you may have to pay as a property owner, as a resident property owner, and as a non-resident property owner.
So as a resident, the only tax that you will pay for having a property is the IDN, sorry. because you don't pay if it is your main residency and you are a resident in Spain, you don't pay any tax for having one property in Spain. Then for the second, you pay in your income tax, you pay a small amount, or if you rent it, it depends. But if you are a resident and you are living on that property on a permanent basis, you will not pay anything but IDI to the town hall.
So that's, for example, then if you're a retired person, you come here, you live in that house, effectively there's no tax based on that.
Exactly, because it is your main residency. So for your main residency, Spanish tax residents will not pay anything. You will pay IDI to the town hall, community of owners if it is a community involved, your utilities, of course, but that's it.
Mm-hmm.
For non-residents, again, IDI, the town hall will apply IDI. It doesn't matter if you're a tax resident or not. And non-resident tax, which is the small tax that we have spoken about, maybe 400 euros, 3, 5, it depends on the property price per year. So the difference is the non-resident tax.
And what tax do people pay if they're renting out the property as a resident or a non-resident?
So if you're renting it as a resident, you will pay the tax depending on the percentage. In Spain, we have a progressive income tax, which means that you can pay, depending on what you earn, you will pay more or less. So depending on your total income, you will pay on that rate for your rentals. If you are renting your property as a non-resident, in that case, we have a very recent sentence that says that non-residents from out of the EU can deduct the expenses related to the rentals, which is good because Spanish people could do it and people from out of the EU couldn't. So if you are renting out your property as a non-resident, in that case, you will pay a rate, a percentage. It could be a 19, 24, depending on where you go on your country of residency. And you will be able to deduct any expenses related to the rentals.
Yeah.
That's
Excellent.
important.
Yeah.
On this rule that is, you become tax resident if you live here over 183 days, you become tax resident in Spain. But if you buy a property to rent, but you don't use it, but you rent it out, where would you pay the tax? Would that be a Spanish tax, or would it be a tax that you have to pay in the UK?
So in principle, if you spend in Spain more than 183 days, you become a tax resident. Now, the tax office has another criterion to make you a tax resident, even if you don't spend more than 183 days. This is why we always recommend when clients have consultations about this, to speak with our tax advisors. Quite important. So, for example, if you have been here less than 183 days, but your family is here, your business is here, or you have a house here, the tax office might consider that your main interests are in Spain. So if you would be a tax resident, it depends a lot. So if in principle, let's say that you are not a tax resident and you rent your property in Spain, you will pay non-residence tax for the income that you have in your taxes. Then depending on the country, depending on your country of nationality, you might be able to deduct this payment that you make in Spain in your income tax in your country.
Yeah.
But Spain will apply non-resident tax on your rentals. It doesn't matter if you are a resident or a non-resident, the tax office will get the money anyway.
So even though you're not a tax resident, you would still have to produce paperwork to prove what you earned, the rental of it.
Yes, the income that you have had from the rentals and also the expenses that you can deduct. Now, let's say that you are from a country that has an agreement with Spain about this. You would be able, in your country, in your income tax, to deduct what you have paid in Spain. But if you don't rent, you pay a small non-residence tax, 300, 400, 500 euros. If you rent, you pay a rate on the income that you have had, even though you are not a tax resident. Yeah.
Yeah, that's important.
Wow. I mean, I think I could sit here all day asking you questions, but I think we have to let you go. But we'll ask you our final question, which is the one we ask all of our guests, is if you could give someone looking to buy a property in Spain, I guess, because that's what it's all been about, what would be your biggest tip? I think I know what you're going to say, but what do you think is the most important thing that someone needs to do before buying a property in Spain?
My most important tip, and I don't have a doubt on it, is get a lawyer and don't pay anything. Don't sign and don't pay, because once you sign and pay, you are committed to buying that specific property. you might lose a deposit. It is important to make a due diligence. No one in Spain will show you the charges on the property, will show you who the owner is, will show you the details of the property in the land registry. So it is quite important that you do not commit yourself to buy a property if a lawyer hasn't done the due diligence yet. An independent lawyer, if I might say.
Yeah.
And important as well, I think, is it doesn't mean to say you can't get ready to do the deposit. So make sure you've got the money in place in the bank, etc. You've got all the details, the things that you need, so that it can be done instantly, but not until the lawyer says yes.
Yeah.
So I have to say, most of our clients, what they do is that they contact us maybe 1 month before the date that they plan to visit Spain, to do the visits and everything. And in that month, they start with the power of attorney, the NIE number, because as we include these services in our fees for the property purchase assistance, they start with this part of the process. So by the time that they find the property, they have the NIE number. Also important, you don't need the NIE number to sign the reservation contract. You don't need the NIE number to sign the private purchase contract. Some agents have told some of our clients that they couldn't reserve a property without the NIE number. This is not correct. You can put an offer on a property without the NIE.
Just use your passport or something.
Exactly. You just need the NIE number to go to completion at the notary, which is more or less 2 months after you have your offer accepted. So, well, a very long tip.
Oh, it's a great tip, though. It's a great tip.
Yeah.
It's so important.
That's in my experience, that's the most valuable tip that I can give your listeners.
Definitely. Yeah. Sounds like that's been great. That's been an amazing episode.
Fantastic.
Love it. I literally, as you're speaking, there were like 10 more questions keep popping into my mind. It's so good. But thank you so much, Belén. Really, it's been an absolute pleasure and it's been an amazing episode.
Thank you so much. Thank you both.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
It's just speaking to Belén, ignoring everybody out there.
Bye.
Bye. Take care.
Thanks for listening to Spainfully Honest.
And don't forget to subscribe or follow, depending on the platform you're listening on. So the button should be down here somewhere, whether you're on YouTube, subscribe, or Spotify, you can follow us. So somewhere down here, you've got a follow or subscribe button. So please click it. It really helps us to grow the audience so we can help reach more and more people who want to find their home in the sun.
It doesn't cost you anything, just to get more and more viewers. It pushes up the rankings.
Yeah.
So, thank you very much.
Thank you.